All right, welcome back to the To Be Better podcast. We are the Chris's. We do question and answers, emails, and sometimes we simply talk shit. But first, a disclaimer.
We are not professionals.
No.
Everything that we speak on is opinions derived from experiences and outside knowledge we've gotten from other resources.
Mm-hmm.
If you get any value or something we said resonates with you, share this.
Yes, that's how we grow.
And if you're not subscribed, why not?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss out on this whole experience. That's the Chris's.
That is the Chris's.
Please leave a comment. Your comments are actually super dope to read. Knowing how that we've impacted you or your relationship, it just helps us continue to do what we're doing, and it shows that what we say works sometimes. And to submit a question or just to email us and say how we've helped or maybe constructive criticism, email us at tobebetterco@gmail.com.
The number 2.
The number 2. Emails will be read anonymously on this podcast, unless specified otherwise by the sender. So if you don't want us to put your story out there, tell us that.
Correct.
If you're going to send emails, please be as detailed as possible. If you give us a one-sided email about how your partner is the problem, that is all we will address.
Yeah, you will get a one-sided reply.
Yes. Nobody is perfect. Take accountability. Everybody can grow.
Whew, preach.
And we are giving unbiased, honest opinions. We are not yes men. So if you submit something to us, be prepared for an answer that you might not like getting. But we are going to give you a very honest, outside perspective.
Is that the full disclaimer?
Yeah.
Now to the episode. I'm going to just jump into this. I just want to start out and say I admire your relationship and the open communication you two have. So question, how do you talk/convince husband to attend marriage counseling?
Ooh.
Damn it, I should have read this one. Backstory, we are 11 years and 2 kids into our relationship. He's 29. I'm 29. He's 30. Our communication has always been hard for us. He shuts down quickly and gets defensive when anything is brought up. He's also very insecure about our relationship, always thinking he's not good enough. I'm going to leave him. Now, after years and years of trying, I'm emotionally detached. I don't feel like the emotional intimacy or connection anymore. I don't feel the emotional intimacy or connection anymore. I don't feel like I can talk to him about anything, not just our issues. I've asked him recently to go to marriage counseling. I've researched and emailed, talked to insurance to get covered, and he doesn't want to go. He thinks we can fix it on our own. I'm past that. I know we can't do it on our own anymore, and I don't know how to open up to him again as I'm used to being shut down. I don't know what else to do. I'm tapped out emotionally. I know I'm not all innocent and have done my own damage, I'm sure, but how can I bring it to his attention to get to the point across that I'm on the verge of giving it all up if we don't seek help from a professional? How do I say this without completely demolishing his heart in the process? Thank you for any feedback. I appreciate it greatly. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room first and foremost. You can't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do.
Right.
You, however, can start going to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I have been your husband, and that I will refuse to go to therapy unless it is a last-ditch effort and I see that it is going to save things.
Mm-hmm.
I have been court-ordered to go to therapy. I've had psychiatric evaluations. I've had anger management classes. I've had to do all this shit through the court system most of my life. I'm not doing it anymore. I personally understand the value of therapy. I get it. I just don't want to do that shit anymore. Therapists are a fucking godsend because they can help you deal with your problems and help you process things and give you the tools to deal with things you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do on your own. You guys don't know how to communicate.
Right.
You going to a therapist can give you the tools to communicate with your partner. We can try to help you with that, but we are not those professionals.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds to me that this is your last-ditch effort. You've stated as much. You need to tell him that.
I would too. Exactly what she said, I would say.
I would ask him before he starts doing whatever he does during the daytime or when he gets home at night, just be like, hey, when you are not busy, I would just like a minute. I have a couple questions. That way he's not getting defensive. You're not saying we need to talk. I just have a couple of quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have his undivided attention, I would say, I feel like I have no other options. Not you. I have no other options. I feel like I'm backed into a corner and I want to save our relationship. It would make me happy if you would just appease me and go to a couple of sessions of therapy. It's not the end of the world. I'm not asking you to divulge a whole lot to the therapist. I want to save our relationship, and I believe that this will help us.
Right.
This is an entirely you thing at this point. It's not a him thing. And if he feels like, if he says or reiterates, we can figure this out on our own, you can then tell him, we cannot. I have been trying to figure this out on our own for a long time now, for years, months, however long it's been. And I don't know what else to do. I'm coming to you with this because I don't want us to end. I don't want to lose you, but I don't know what else to do. He doesn't have anything to tell you, because if he did, he would have done it already. So you've laid it out on the line. You've told him that you're at your wit's end. You're basically saying, this is it, or I'm leaving. At that point, he should want to do it to make you happy. In the event that he's not willing to do it to make you happy, you have to express to him again, like, this is a last-ditch effort to save us. And if he's not willing to do it again, then you ask him, is our relationship not worth you going to therapy?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to go and divulge your life. I'm asking you to go with me because I need this.
Right.
If he's not willing to do it at that point, I suggest that you go see a therapist on your own first. Maybe you'll really like your therapist and you come home and be like, babe, I feel so much better. We had a great conversation. I've gotten new tools that's helping me communicate, or to help me better understand your communication, whatever. If you come home feeling good, it may make him want to go.
Right.
You might be able to persuade him to go, but you cannot make him do anything he doesn't want to do.
I think it would be more impactful if she said, if she were to say, is you not going to therapy worth losing me?
Right.
Because if you came to me and said that, I'd be like, damn, like, am I really going to lose the person I promised my life to for the rest of my, like, forever? Because I don't want to talk to somebody and try to fix things? I don't know.
I think that wording it that way would be a last-ditch effort, because that is kind of combative. Like, that's an ultimatum,
Right.
in a way. And that might need to be what happens.
Well, you saying is going to therapy worth losing the relationship.
Right.
I feel like that's also an ultimatum.
No, that is the last-ditch effort in that, is what I'm saying. Like, it needs to be from a point of, I think that it would really help us. It would help me understand our communication. Like, it'll give us tools. You want to lay out the positives and try that route first. And if that doesn't work, then the ultimatums come in last-ditch efforts. Like, that's what I was getting at with that. Like, you should always try the positive approach first. And if you can get it to work that way, great. And if not, then, and you may have a man that's just totally against therapy. There are men out there that hate that shit.
Something that I found valuable, like, I was in therapy for a long time too. Like, I've been through the Baker Act and all of that shit. Like, I get it. And with all the therapy I went through, I found almost the exact same thing for free on YouTube.
Yep.
You know, doing it on YouTube, you're not getting that one-on-one. Someone's not going to listen to your life story and be able to give you things specifically around what you're going through. But getting it on YouTube is just as good. You can watch videos together. You see something in a video, be like, hey, let's try that. Get excited about it. He might get excited about it, you know?
There's something in here that stands out to me, though, that I want to touch on. And you said, now, after years and years of trying, I'm emotionally detached. I don't feel the emotional intimacy or the connection anymore. I don't feel like I can talk to him about anything, not just our issues. Being emotionally detached from your partner is a problem.
It is a problem.
Because you're in the roommate phase now. You guys are just living together. You are not going to approach situations the same way that you would if you were still madly in love, because you would be trying to protect them. There is a very strong possibility that you are coming at him sideways and not realizing you're doing it, which is making him want to go against the grain. Excuse me, I shouldn't have gotten a soda. The other issue that I caught here was, I don't feel like I can talk to him about anything, not just our issues. You feeling like you can't talk to your partner
It's a problem.
is a huge problem. That was, I know that it's live today and we're reading your email today, so this is not relevant to what you sent, but the communication, or the check-in / report card video that we put on YouTube that's 51 minutes long talks a lot about what this email is going through. So I suggest that you watch it. You need to figure out each other's communication styles. We need to figure out some ways to like help people figure that out. That needs to be something that we do.
Like looking for signs or cues, or like avoidance.
Or even books that we can point people in the right directions of on. But if you don't feel like you can talk to him, that means there's no trust there. You can't be vulnerable. And even if you felt like you could be vulnerable, you don't see a reason to do it. There's a whole lot of problems that come into that. I think that if you actually do want to save your marriage and you believe therapy is the only way and he's not willing to go, you should go by yourself before you get divorced. It's not going to hurt anything to go by yourself.
Right. I agree. Like if he's not willing to go by yourself.
Yep.
You know, you can pick up things in therapy that you can start to like
implement in the house.
Implement without even telling him. Just start implementing it. And then once the change has taken place, point it out to him.
Yeah.
And say, remember we used to argue about that constantly? I learned in therapy X, Y, and Z, and it worked.
Right.
I also want to say, you said if you loved the person, you would try to not hurt their feelings. So you're handling it more gentle.
Right.
Than
Kid gloves.
Right. When was the last time they had a conversation about why they fell in love? You know, if I were this person, I bet every conversation they have is either frustration or anger. Like they don't have good times with each other anymore. I would sit down and just say, hey, babe, remember when we did this 10 years ago? And just talk about that event that made you happy. And then he's going to be like, oh, yeah, well, do you remember this time?
Yeah.
And then you guys are going to start talking about the things you did for each other that made you fall in love. And I feel like bringing those memories back to the foreground instead of just constantly arguing and bickering about how they don't get along anymore, bringing that stuff back up could help push them into the direction of like, damn, you know, I do want to have this. I don't want to lose this.
Right.
I feel like that was a good idea.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. You know, there's a lot of people that when you break up with somebody or you get a divorce, there's always that mourning phase. And then you remember all of the good times that you've had.
Yeah.
Like when you have the negativity bias, when you're going through shit with somebody and you're viewing them negatively, it changes when they're no longer in your life. When you look back at your time with them, you remember the positives. You remember all the good times you had and all the dope things that you did together. That's why people get lonely and miss their partner and try to go back and like try to resolve things because they do remember those good times after they calm down from what's going on. So that would be a good way to start implementing a positivity bias to counterbalance the negativity bias that's currently happening.
Yeah.
And you know, we do that. We do that every day because we make sure that we fawn over each other still. Hey, I like your makeup today. I like your hair. Your butt looks great. Like we do that to each other still. We still tell each other we're attractive. You know, that's a very real thing to help balance the negativity bias that you get from people.
Right.
And you're going to get that negativity bias whether you're madly in love or not because you're living with somebody now and you guys are becoming one person and you're sharing the same experiences. And you may watch a movie and you really love it and he may be like, man, it was, man, you know, and it's going to change the way you view the movie. And then, you know, you don't have that great conversation about all the things that you enjoyed in the movie. And it went from a very positive moment to meh, you know? Those things go a long way, and it's something to think about. So in this scenario, I definitely think that you should do what she said with the reminiscing. Go on dates.
Yeah.
Go on dates. You don't have to be madly in love with your person. You know, and to be fair, you could go on dates, and if you're already detached, it may just feel like you're eating dinner. And if that feels like that at that point, that's another problem. Like you have to try to stop that from feeling that way. You guys are not able to communicate. You said that the communication has always been hard for you, but he shuts down quickly or gets defensive when anything is brought up. How are you bringing things up? Are you saying you always do this, you never do that, you, because then he's getting defensive and feeling like he's being attacked? That's why that's happening.
Right.
Excuse me, is there childhood trauma? Does he have trauma that he's not processed yet? I mean, if he's not willing to go to therapy, there's a very real possibility that he's got a whole lot of dark shit inside of him that he's never worked through yet. Or that he's just stuffed it down and never processed any of it because it's easier to bottle the shit up than it is to live through that nonsense.
Yeah, I agree. That definitely has to be a conversation. And the way that I would approach that is I would be speaking to you, right? So I've noticed something, and in no way do I want you to feel like I'm attacking you. I want to understand you better.
Yep.
So when we have conversations, I noticed you start to shut down or you don't want to carry it on anymore. Is it something that I'm saying to you? Is it the way I'm approaching you? Like, why does that happen? That way, in the future, when we have these conversations, we can understand each other better.
Yeah, or everything was great. And then that very last part could even be said so that I am better.
Right.
Because now it's not about him. It's about you.
You could even say, because I want to be better for you.
Right.
And then be like, damn, she's doing this for me. Like she wants to figure me out.
Yep.
And then he's going to sit down and he's going to think about, why do I do that?
Hopefully.
Right. Hopefully. If everything goes as planned, he's going to sit down and he's going to be like, why do I do that? And then he's going to start picking himself apart. And then he's going to, those thoughts that he has is going to take him somewhere else. And then he's going to process those kinds of things. And he might come to you and say, I do this because of this, but I recognize maybe you do this.
Right.
And in those conversations, it's important because she's the one who's wanting to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
When he comes to you with things, he might not be able to express himself the way you did politely. You're going to have to take back that defensive a little bit.
Right.
And understand that if he did the work and he said, this is why I do that, it's because you do this. You're going to have to hear that.
Yep. Yeah. This, again, watch the check-in video. There's so much information in the check-in video that's going to be pertinent to what's going on here. Making sure that you're asking questions instead of making statements is going to go a long way to helping you to communicate because statements are triggering.
Right.
They're demanding. They're will put
It's
you
like
on
being
the defensive.
spoken down to.
And questions will make you intrigued and want to know what's going on. So you ask questions instead of making statements. Find out how he communicates. His communication style might be very short and blunt and yours isn't. And maybe he's getting frustrated because of your delivery. It could be your tone or inflection. It could be your body language. He could be feeling that you're attacking him. It could be that he doesn't understand what you're saying. There could be a loss in connection because of the words that you're using. He doesn't know the definitions for them. That's a very real possibility. And maybe he doesn't want to say, hey, I need you to define that for me because he doesn't want to sound dumb. There's a lot here and there's a lot of things that you can learn and you can do without going to therapy. But I think that on your own, you should go to therapy if that's what you feel is going to save things. And give it a couple sessions, give it a month,
Right.
Go weekly for a month. And if, you've already got the insurance to cover it. So at this point, it's not going to kill you to go without him. And maybe your therapist is going to give you all the tools to tell you his communication style and you guys can work that out without the therapist ever meeting him. And if not, you know that he's not willing to go to save your marriage. He's telling you that I don't care enough to make the effort.
It might even be worth it to have him like sit down and write his perspective. Like say they had an argument and she's like, okay, now we're going to both sit down and write down our perspectives. She can take that to the therapist. The therapist can read it over, see her perspective, see his perspective, and kind of break down what both of them were trying to say. And then she can take that information and go back to him.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's definitely not wrong. I as somebody who's denied therapy in a situation similar to this one, it was because I didn't see the value in going. So maybe you need to explain to him that it's not because we're fighting or because I need a therapist to tell us how to do things. Maybe it needs to be like, I need the tools and it might help us learn how to communicate better. It doesn't need to be like I'm trying to think of how I can word this without getting too into my past, because I have been exactly where he is right now, where I've refused to go to therapy. Even though I was asked profusely to go, and I did the exact same thing that I'm saying you shouldn't do. But I've learned from that. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of all of this, is that we've lived through these shitty scenarios and we have reflection and accountability, and we're able to figure out why we didn't do the things that we did. And in my scenario, I wouldn't go because I knew that we were going to go and I was going to get ripped apart in therapy, because she had been going for a long time and I've already experienced all this. I know the tools. I know that she's been unloading to the therapist about me, and that's been a huge reason why they're going. Maybe he feels insecure and that he doesn't want to go and be double teamed by two women, or a woman and a man that you're paying the therapist for. Maybe he just doesn't understand. Maybe you need to be like, look, this is purely to get us talking. This is not about being ripped apart. This is not about somebody taking sides. It's not about us fighting in front of somebody else. It is purely to learn the communication skills that we don't have, that might present a different outlook for him and may make him want to go from a different standpoint than what he thinks is going to happen. Maybe you should even ask him, like, hey, what do you think is going to happen if we went to therapy?
Right.
Because he could have very valid concerns and you guys just aren't having those conversations.
I would highly recommend just bringing up YouTube videos. Like say, hey, I found this on YouTube. It could help us. It's also kind of like a loophole with going and seeing an actual physical therapist. He might be more intrigued by that than actually going and speaking with somebody. So if you start with the YouTube and you guys break down videos and you find things that apply to you, that could open the doorway for him to be like, okay, you know what, this is actually working. I'm comfortable with trying the therapist now.
Yep, that's a good point. I got nothing else on this one because this was a very short email. So,
Yeah.
You got anything else?
Nope.
Dope. That one was under 20 minutes. See you guys next time.